Hey there, tech fans. Today I'd like to review the Orei UHD-EXB330CU-K HDMI extender with KVM functionality. This product is designed to make it incredibly easy for you to share all of your HDMI media content from one location with a second remote location up to 330 feet away over a Cat6 or Cat7 cable. But it also provides KVM functionality, which means you can connect the keyboard and mouse up at the remote location and control the computer at the primary location. But it doesn't stop there. The product fully supports 4K media content at up to 60 frames a second and is both HDMI 2.0B as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant, which means it's plug and play compatible with all modern media gear. In addition to that, the product provides audio extraction capabilities at the remote location, which can separate the audio from the media stream being sent there and allows you to pass that along to a soundbar or home stereo for that full theater experience. It also includes a set of infrared blasters that will collect up the remote control signals from that secondary location and pass those back over the same LAN cable to the primary location where they're rebroadcast, so you can essentially remotely control the content you're watching. And the transmitter provides both an HDMI input and a USB-C input, which is really important if you're connecting a computer. Finally, the product employs the very latest in power over cable technology, which means a single power supply at the remote site will provide all the power needed for the transmitter over that same LAN cable. Now, as part of this overview, I'd like to start with a quick unboxing just to show you everything that's included in the kit, and then I'll take a closer look at the transmitter and the receiver modules and explain the connections and indicators, and then I'll come back one more time and point out some of the things that make this kit really special that you can use to compare it to something else you may be considering. So let's get started with the unboxing. When you first pop open the box, you'll find a transmitter module and a receiver module. You'll find a single DC power supply. You can plug this in at the remote location, connect it up to the receiver, and again, all the power needed for the transmitter is sent over that same LAN cable, so you don't need a power supply at the primary side, and that greatly simplifies your wiring. You'll also find a set of infrared blasters, one for the remote location and one for the primary location, a set of brackets you can use to mount these modules up off the ground and out of the way, some connectors you can use to make an RS-232 connection if you'd like to send that signal to that remote location as well, and finally a full instruction manual is also included that lists connection diagrams, specifications, and a lot of other really good information about this product that you'll need to understand in order to use it correctly. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at both modules and explain the connections, and then I'll come back and really explain some of the things that I like about this kit that provide functions and features well beyond what you'd expect from a kit like this. The kit includes both a transmitter module and a receiver module, and both of these feature full metal enclosures, which make them very durable and a great choice for both residential and commercial installations. Let's start with the transmitter module first. On the top of the module, and along both sides, you'll find ventilation slots that are designed to let any heat that develops during operation escape and keep the electronics inside at a comfortable temperature. On the bottom of the unit, you'll find 4 rubber feet that protect the surface you set it down on and keep it from sliding around during operation. You'll also find mounting holes on the bottom that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount this module up off the ground and out of the way. On the one side of the module, you'll find a switch labeled POC, and that controls the power over cable technology, which allows you to plug a power supply in at the receiver end and have the power required for the transmitter sent over that LAN connection between the two. If you'd like to take advantage of that, turn this switch on. If you turn this off, you'll have to supply 24 volts right here at the transmitter to operate the unit. So use that power over cable. It'll save you some additional wiring and an extra power supply. On the front of the unit, starting on the left, is a power indicator. The minute you add power to the module, or if you're using POC and you add power to the receiver, this unit boots up. It goes through a power on self-test, and while it's doing that, it's checking the electronics inside. Once it passes that test, it'll light that LED, letting you know the module's ready to use. To the right of that is a link light. Once you power up the receiver and the transmitter both and make the LAN connection, that LAN connection is checked. Once it's been verified, the link light comes on to let you know you have a solid connection between the modules. To the right of that are 2 more LEDs labeled USB-C or HDMI. Those indicate which of the 2 inputs is currently active, and you can switch between these by tapping that button right there. To the right of that is a mode switch. This unit can transmit 4K content for up to 330 feet and 1080p content even longer. Normally you'd leave it in the standard mode for 4K content, but if you need to transmit content further, you can put it in the long range mode by flipping that switch down, and then it'll transfer 1080p resolution. To the right of that is an EDID switch bank, and that controls frame rate and resolution, and that's fully explained in the manual, but you can make adjustments there to accommodate your media device and the content you're transferring. To the right of that are 3 full-sized USB-A ports, and these are for connecting peripherals to this unit that are immediately seen by your computer, and these can be thumb drives or cameras or microphones, any USB peripheral that you can plug into a USB-A port. To the right of that is a service port. It's a micro USB connection, and that's used for updating the firmware on the module if needed later on. And to complete that upgrade, you'll connect this to your computer with a micro USB cable, move the firmware file over to the module to finish that upgrade. On the rear of the units are a series of connections. Starting on the left, that's the LAN port, and that's where one end of the Cat6 or Cat7 cable plugs in between this transmitter and the receiver. To the right of that are 2 more input connections, an HDMI one, and if you've got a product like a game console or maybe even a computer that uses an HDMI connection, you can connect it there. There's also a USB-C connection. The USB-C connection here is great for like a laptop or a tablet or a phone, but you have a choice between these two. You can use the select button on the front to decide which of these two is active. To the right of that is a host connection. If you're going to be using the KVM functionality from the remote location, you'll make a connection from here to your local computer. That's a USB connection, typically here to a USB-A on your computer. And that connects that network to your computer for remote control from the receiver end. To the right of that is a left and right analog output. This unit provides audio extraction capabilities where it can actually separate the audio component from the media being sent here and allows you to pass it along through that analog connection to a soundbar or home stereo to improve the audio quality. To the right of that are 2 more 3.5mm connections for the infrared blasters, infrared in and infrared out. Typically here you'll plug the one in for the infrared out and it rebroadcasts the signals from that remote location. To the right of that is a place to connect RS-232 signals where you can send those to the remote location back and forth, and there's a connector in the kit that makes that connection easier. Finally, to the right of that is a DC input port. Now, if you're using power over cable, you can plug that power supply in at the receiver end, and you won't have to use this port. But if you need to add 24 volts at the transmitter because you're not using POC, that's where you'll make that connection. Now we'll take a look at the receiver. Again, ventilation on the top and both sides. Another POC switch right there. You make sure you switch that to match what you're doing with the transmitter. On the bottom, you've got mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit, just like on the transmitter. On the front of the unit, on the left, you'll find a power indicator. When you add power to this module, it goes through the same power on self-test. It will light that LED when it's ready to use. To the right of that is a link indicator. When you make the LAN connection between the 2 modules and power them both up, that connection is checked. That will come on to verify the connection between them. To the right of that, 2 more infrared blaster ports, IR in and IR out. In the case of the receiver, you'll plug the module into the infrared in because you're collecting up the remote control signals there. To the right of that is another service port for updating the firmware on the receiver, micro USB cable to your computer to complete that upgrade. On the rear of the module, another LAN port. That's where the other end of the Cat6 or Cat7 cable gets plugged in from the transmitter side. To the right of that, a full-size HDMI port labeled HDMI out. This connects to a local monitor at that remote site that you'd like to enjoy the content on. To the right of that, 2 more USB-A ports that can be used for additional peripherals at the remote location. To the right of that, audio output left and right. So this does audio extraction as well, where you can connect this up to a soundbar or home stereo at that remote location if you'd like to improve that audio quality. To the right of that, another RS-232 connection block for retrieving the signals from the transmitter side. And then finally, another DC input port, and this is the one you'll use at the receiver end. You'll plug that 24-volt power supply into a standard wall outlet. The other end of that cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs in right there, and a collar you can tighten to make sure it doesn't pop out. And that'll provide all the power you'll need for the receiver, and if you're using the power over cable function, it'll actually transmit that power over to the transmitter, and you won't need a power supply at this end. And that's pretty much it for the set. I hope that closer look was helpful. Now here are a few really important things to keep in mind when you're comparing the Orei UHD-EXB330CU-K HDMI extension kit with KVM functionality with other products you may be considering. The first thing is that this single product is really two products in one. I mean, it's an HDMI extension kit, which allows you to share all of your HDMI media content from one location with a second remote location up to 330 feet away over a Cat 6 or a Cat 7 cable, but it's also bi-directional because the receiver provides KVM functionality, which allows me to connect up a keyboard and mouse here to remotely control a computer connected up at the primary location. I also like the fact that the transmitter provides additional USB-A connections on the front, so I can use those for peripherals that are immediately seen by my computer the minute I plug them in. I also like the fact that the transmitter provides HDMI connections for my DVD player and my game console, as well as a USB-C connection for my laptop or my tablet, so I can use either of those to transmit the content to the remote location. The receiver provides audio extraction capabilities where it can separate the audio from that media stream being sent there and allows you to pass it along through an analog connection to a home stereo or a soundbar for that full theater experience. I also like the fact that the infrared blasters are included because that provides complete remote control from that secondary location over the content I'm viewing. And finally, the power over cable technology means a single power supply is all I'll need for the entire solution because I'll plug that in at the receiver end and the power required for the transmitter is sent over that same LAN cable, so it makes wiring incredibly easy. I also like the fact that this unit can support 4K media content at up to 60 frames a second, as well as being HDMI 2.0B and HDCP 2.2 compliant, which means it's plug and play compatible with everything I own in my media gear. Everything you need to get started is included with the kit, and with a few simple connections, you can really be up and running in no time. So hopefully you found this review helpful. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay nerdy.